Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to Central News for Thursday, the 5th of June. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Greerton Library will be redeveloped into new premises after Tauranga City Council gave the go-ahead yesterday. In front of a packed audience of library supporters, TCC decided to approve funding for the new library during annual plan deliberations. While councillors questioned the size, the value and where exactly the new building will go, they did agree in the end by a substantial majority to commit to the project in the coming financial year. TCC agreed to commit resources and fund the project that will cost up to $3.5 million through development contributions and fund the operational costs of the new 900 metre squared facility through the existing operational budget for the library's network. The vote passed 8-3 with councillors Rick Curak, Catherine Stewart and Gail McIntosh voting against it. Also confirmed in the annual plan deliberation process, the Tauranga City Council today confirmed the rates rise incorporating a stormwater levy. The recommendation is for a $5 million stormwater project works, which may include land purchases of flood-damaged homes. It is made up of $3.4 million levy for the initial preparation works, $1.2 million to cover catchment modelling, a survey of floor levels and testing of concept design work. A total of $400,000 is for the Mount Maunganui Industrial Improvement Project. The council went into confidence immediately after making the decision to discuss catchment details included in a report on the city flooding. The levy is intended to start on urgently required work in several areas of the city, with council to go further into debt borrowing to pay for it. Waikato Regional Council's Chief Executive Vaughan Payne has announced the new executive leadership team responsible for achieving the council's strategic direction and ensuring it more effectively and efficiently meets future challenges. The changes, which have seen management numbers cut from 52 to 34, follow an organisation-wide review started last September to make sure the council had the right strategy, structure and staffing to improve efficiency and effectiveness over the next 4 years. The review included benchmarking against similar organisations and feedback from staff, councillors and other stakeholders. Following the government's recent decision to ban the sale of all legal highs until they have been tested, Hamilton City Council has asked Star Trust for its judicial review challenge to their psychoactive substances policy to be put on hold indefinitely. Star Trust, who challenged the policy, will need to decide whether they want to proceed with the challenge after the details of the testing regime and licensing regulations are known. Hamilton City Council believe there is no basis for the judicial review challenge and will be seeking payment of its legal costs from Star Trust at the appropriate time. Now for our region's marine forecast. West Coast Raglan sea slight, southwest swell 1 metre in the morning, northeast 15 knots. Your high tide is at 16-12. East Coast Bay of Plenty, variable 5 knots, sea smooth, fair visibility and drizzle patches. Your high tide is at 13-15. Just ahead, housing affordability in Tauranga. The plea to the councils to do something now. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. The Housing Affordability Forum has asked the Western Bay of Plenty District Council to take action on the affordable housing provisions in Smart Growth. I caught up with the chair of the forum to find out more about their submission.
Yes, the Affordable Housing Forum made a submission to the council in support of their Smart Growth actions that they adopted last year, and one of them in particular was the urgent strategy to do a pilot project about affordable housing. So our submission was in support of that and highlighting the fact that we need resourcing to do that. And we'd also like to talk to the councillors about the opportunities that council may be able to offer that program. So in our pilot project, our program is intending that we have alternative ways of providing housing, alternative opportunities that are drawn out of the sectors that are involved in housing, trying to find long-term enduring different ways of doing things, collecting them all together as a initiative, and then going into a registration of interest in the community, the business community, for affordable housing, offering them potential packages out of that to enable them to build affordable housing complexes that we can use as best practice examples in the community, so that people can see what affordable housing is about, learn how to actually build it, so that it helps the business sector move forward and actually do it themselves. So it's an education tool at the end of the day. So the whole program could take 2 years perhaps, I'm not really sure. We may have more than one example. So what we were doing with council is saying, apart from supporting us with some resource, can we have a workshop with you to see what opportunities your council can provide us? And that could be any number of things, from offering case managers for consenting projects as they go through, or they may have spare land that they could consider providing a project, say as a lease or a purchase to buy, or it may be changes to the district plan rules so that affordable housing has perhaps an easier consent path. There are some elements in the plan that, such as density, that currently can be a problem. A lot of the affordable homes will be smaller, not your conventional 3-bedroom. A lot of affordables need to be 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms. Sometimes they need to be 4 or 5. So the rules need to be tailored to cater for that more readily, so that it's easier for them to get the consenting. So in that workshop session, we hope to get that feedback from them about what they, as one of the partners, could offer. And we're having workshops with all the other sectors as well, going through the same process, and we'll collect it all together, and hopefully we'll have a series of opportunities or game breakers, things that will make a difference, and then we'll go out and do a registration of interest and offer the business sector those opportunities, and they can take some of them or all of them if they wish. We'll just see what happens.
The smart growth strategy requires the councils to match government's actions. What does that mean?
That's a good question. The smart growth strategy is a land use strategy that integrates with transportation, and it bears in mind the population growth and the changing demographic. So inherently in what smart growth is doing and has been doing is the need to find affordable housing to support employment and economic growth. So whilst the government is currently, the central government is currently talking about affordable housing, the issue of affordable housing has really been on the agenda in Tauranga for some time. I mean, our forum started in 2007, I think it is. So we've been around a long time, doing a lot of submissions and advocacy work with our councils and to central government about the problem. So Smart Growth has been talking about it for a long time, and they have already really put into action and are actioning this issue now.
Is there currently no resourcing in councils to look at affordable housing?
In my mind, and obviously I'm not a council employee, but from what I see, we have council officers on our forum. They come and participate and provide their technical knowledge. I am aware that council officers have done research into this in the past, and they are intending to do further research when the census material is available. So from my perspective, they appear to be resourced and actively working already. Obviously, we could always ask for more, and part of that is this pilot project and gleaning from them other things that could be done that might make a difference.
What essentially then is Smart Growth's Housing Affordability Forum?
Smart Growth in the latest regime actually has a whole series of forums on different topics. The Affordable Housing Forum, as I said, has been operating since about 2007. It's a collective of people who are very interested in the provision of this sort of housing locally. It's made up of people with technical interest and knowledge to help us. It's also made up of developers, charitable trusts, representatives from council, planners, representatives from the ageing sector and the like. So it's really an eclectic mix of people who have a real passion and interest in this situation and wanting to do something about it. And so that's basically what the forum is, and we're now into this pilot project, which is quite different to what we've done in the past, in that it's a very positive, constructive thing rather than just doing submissions. We're actually trying to build some bricks and mortar.
Coming up after the break, could we be looking at the end of Reserve Bank lending restrictions? Welcome back. The Reserve Bank recently announced it could scrap low deposit lending restrictions by the end of the year. Campbell Scott, branch manager of Harcourts in Hamilton, spoke with Anne-Marie and explained how the news has been met by the housing market.
It's been really well received. There's two parts to it. The Reserve Bank are looking at scrapping the changes that they put in place in October last year. The other part of it is that the dust is now settled for the banks, for the lenders, and the restriction on them wasn't that they could lend or that they couldn't lend beyond 80%. The restriction was that they could only lend a certain amount of their book or of their total lending to purchasers who only had less than 20% deposit. So the dust is settling in that respect as well, and that the banks are now realising that, hey, we've actually got a bit of money to lend within this portfolio. So two things are happening. The Reserve Bank have been perhaps taking on board some of the pressure that has been put on them by the buying public. The banks have realised that, hey, we've got a bit of money to spend, and so there are some good opportunities available to purchasers in that space for folks who haven't got a 20% deposit.
The measures were controversial. What effects did you see on the housing market?
Yeah, I think the controversy was that it was the wrong solution to the problem, and I probably agree with that to some extent. The impact of it has been that there have been a lot less buyers in the market, buyers who have perceived that there is simply no funds available for them if they haven't got a 20% deposit. That's had a flow-on effect in that vendors who have houses to sell to people who would normally be first home buyers haven't had the confidence that their buy would be there, so we haven't seen those properties come to market. And that's had a flow-on effect. If we haven't got activity in the entry-level price points, then that flows through typically to the second home buyers and into the more expensive properties, and it's fed from the entry-level price points going through. So we haven't seen as much activity throughout the market as a result of the restrictions that were put in place. So it has been quite a noticeable effect.
What areas in Hamilton were most affected?
I don't think there was geographical areas as such. I think it was more price points. So really anything in the entry-level price points in Hamilton, maybe that sort of 250, mid-200s through to early 300,000 bracket, that was typically the domain of first home buyers, has been quite heavily felt. And so in those price points, unlike other parts of the market, we have for a little while had a period where there has been the demand and supply curve has been a little bit more equal than it might have been in some of the higher price points. There are probably as many properties available for purchasers in that market as there are purchasers for them. So it has affected the prices adversely.
Do you think lending restrictions should have been applied only in Auckland and Canterbury instead of the whole of New Zealand?
I'm probably a little bit puritan, and I think they shouldn't have been applied at all. But yeah, certainly the problem was more noticeable in Auckland. Christchurch is probably an entirely different market for a different reason at the moment. The supply and demand there has come about obviously because of the earthquakes and the activity there. In Auckland it's come about because of lots of people, not many houses. So it may have been appropriate in Auckland. I think beyond that it's had a detrimental effect beyond what the Reserve Bank were trying to achieve.
It's that time of year again. The field days are back at Mystery Creek from June the 11th to the 14th. And this year is promised to be bigger and better than ever, bringing an influx of visitors to the Waipa district. Mayor Jim Milcrest spoke with Anne-Marie recently and explained what the field days mean for the Waipa district.
It brings hundreds of thousands of visitors into the district each year, which is a major economic driver. So it's fantastic from council's perspective to have the event here in Waipa. It also has spin-offs to a lot wider area with accommodation booked out solid from Hamilton over to the Bay of Plenty, Rotorua, etc. So it's a huge benefit to Waipa ratepayers as well.
Traffic management has come a long way since the days of old when there used to be queues miles back, but people still need to be mindful of the extra traffic on the roads.
Oh, certainly. It's particularly at the either ends of the day when people are trying to get there in the mornings and in the afternoons. The conflicts with the airport have always been an issue. People leaving their run to get to their planes a little bit too late. So I think people still have to be mindful, but as you say, it's improved hugely over the years with widening the lanes, so there's multiple lanes being able to get into the field days. Field days management's improved hugely with their parking areas. So yes, traffic and getting to the field days now is nowhere near the problem it used to be, but there can still be potential hold-ups people should be aware of.
Have you got any secret back road tips that you want to share?
No, they've all gone, unfortunately. People just follow the car in front of them, so there's no way of sneaking in.
What's your favourite part of the field days?
I think it's meeting the international visitors, really, and seeing their interest in the field days. Because this show is probably the biggest, at least in the Southern Hemisphere. But certainly compares favourably with some of the large shows in the United Kingdom and places like that. So yes, meeting those visitors and just sharing stories with them and comparing their country with ours.
Is there a particular exhibit or event that you like to see?
Not particularly. It's just having a good look around and seeing the changes that have happened. I certainly think from somebody who's looking to buy a piece of machinery, then they've got huge selections there, so it certainly would be a big help to them. But only being a toy farmer on the edge of town, I don't really need a $100,000 tractor, unfortunately. At least I couldn't convince my wife to let me have one.
Now, a new reservoir is being built for Te Awamutu. How's the build going?
Yes, the build's going well. It was really slow to get started because of the size of the reservoir at 8,000 cubic metres, we had to preload the site, so there was a big mountain of roading metal put there to actually compress the ground before the build started. So that's now been cleared away and it's started and will be completed at the end of this year or probably early next year.
What will this reservoir mean for the Waipa district in summer when rain is scarce? Is it a cure-all?
By no means a cure-all. We need to manage our water supply. It only provides, with our existing facilities, a 2-day buffer if we have a break in the main. So people still need to be aware that this won't just mean that they can have unlimited supply over those summer months.
And of course, Field Days is on next week from the 11th to the 14th of June at Mystery Creek Event Centre. Just ahead, the Innovation Den. Welcome back to Central News. The 46th New Zealand National Agricultural Field Days begin at Mystery Creek on the 11th of June. Innovation is what the Field Days are known for, and Anne-Marie spoke with Field Days Commercial General Manager Nick Dromgoole to find out what we can expect in the Innovation Den this year.
Yes, the Den is an important part of bringing those innovations to the forefront and exposing them for the value that they contribute. The Innovations Den is where innovators will have the opportunity to pitch their inventions, their ideas, and be critiqued by experts in that particular field. And part of the benefits that we offer through the Innovation Den is our linkage with SODA and to be able to develop them and create business models that they can take their innovations and commercialise them.
And Field Days are walking the talk with a very innovative Field Days app. Tell me about that.
Yes, it's a compatible Android and iPhone app and gives our visitors and exhibitors the opportunity to have everything that's in the program at hand on their digital device. It's a wonderful way of getting knowledge, getting information, sharing it with exhibitors and our visitors.
What level of interest does the Field Days generate on an international level?
It's huge. We're expecting over 500 international visitors here. Last year we had 22 delegations. This year we've been receiving online registrations and we've had interest from Latin America, the USA, Asia, China, India, Europe and Ireland and the UK. So immense interest. We are also hosting a international networking function on the Thursday evening of Field Days, where we'll have all of our international delegates and visitors interacting with New Zealand business and ministers of the Crown who will be present.
How many international delegates will you host this year?
We believe it will be in excess of 500.
Tell me about the Premier theme for Field Days 2014.
Managing resources for a competitive advantage. On the back of a couple of years of drought, it's very, very important. We have limited natural resources and we need to protect those. It's about ensuring that our animals are properly fed and accommodated through these dry spells or challenging periods. But resources are not just limited to those natural, it's our human resources, it's our capital resource, it's ability to invest. And I think that that's the theme is going to socialise that and provide information to all concerned whilst they're here at Field Days.
Nick, if you had to choose one thing not to miss at the Field Days, what would it be?
Some of my colleagues would suggest it's the great array of eateries that we have here and the food that's available. But for me, it is our business and international centre. We've put a big effort into that this year and we will, as I said, hosting 500 international delegates. So I think it is going to be the showpiece of the show.
For more details, go to fielddays.co.nz. Right, time for our weather for Friday. Hamilton, mainly fine with light winds. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 4. Same for the rest of the Waikato. Paeroa 17 and 7. Matamata 15 and 6. Te Awamutu 17 and 4. But Tokoroa, you have a slightly different day. Cloudy periods, a shower or 2 in the north and east. Light winds. Your predicted high is 14 and an overnight low of 5. Bay Plenty Tauranga, cloudy with a drizzly patch or 2 and a northeasterly developing. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 9. Te Puke, cloudy with a few drizzly patches, northeast breezes developing. Your expected high is 15 and an overnight low of 9. That is Central News for today. We love to hear your feedback, so email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz or like us on Facebook. Let us know what your thoughts are on today's program. Join me again tomorrow night as we look at the bid for a new skate park in Tauranga and the Problem Gambling Foundation's cuts to their funding. Will they survive? I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.